ability and what you were doing with this land?
Good question. And for every property we own, the first thing we do when we acquire it is to have a forest management plan prepared by a consulting forester who's licensed to do business in that state. And that forest management plan is done according to a format we have developed over the years so that we have comparable data for all of our 150 management units. It's not just a forest management plan, it looks into all the natural resources on that property. About a third of our ownership, we don't harvest. We don't harvest because there's some sensitive soils out there, there are wetlands, it's too close to a waterway, there might be a known identified species of concern that we don't want to disturb. So a forest management plan is done for 10 years. Every forest management plan we do, we update every 10 years. And the forest management plan itself has in it prescriptions for how to treat each separate stand of trees out there. And a stand of trees is just it's trees of like kind growing together, or assemblages of trees like kind growing together. It's hard to find a piece of New England forest land of any size that doesn't have some different tree cover on it. And each stand of trees would have a different prescription. And when it comes time to harvest, what we do is the forester will go out there, a consulting forester, again, we don't have enough staff people to do that ourselves, and we'll mark trees for harvesting. We then advertise and conduct what we call a pre-timber harvest walk. And we let the Conservation Commission know, we let abutters know, let the Selectmen know when we're going to be doing that. It gives the opportunity for public input into a planned harvest operation. And if people want to see it, we'll go do a post-harvest walk as well. Yes, we do harvest timber from our properties, but that's part of our mission to demonstrate what sustainable forestry is all about. And over all those properties, we cut quite a bit less than we actually grow in any given time period, whether it's 1 year or 5 years or 15 years.
So post-cutting, are you then replanting similar, or is it thinning, or you taking
Almost
enough so it just keeps renewing itself?
Almost all of our harvests are done in a way that it's selectively harvested. Individual trees are marked for removal. There are occasions when there might be a stand where trees that aren't competing as well on that particular site because of the soils or because of some past land use history. There may be trees there that just aren't doing very well. The forester might recommend taking out a small patch and starting over, but you almost never have to replant trees in New England unless you want to convert to a completely different species in a plantation. I can't think of a time we've done that. And I've been with the foundation for 15 years.
And once you've harvested the trees, you are then selling the lumber?
Yes, yep, we do.
Interesting. Other questions? I have one. Take me. We want to go back to Forestry 101, or,
Sure.
or more like how this system works 101. And maybe I'm ignorant, but who's going to own this land? Your company?
One way to do the project would be for the town to match the state grant dollar for dollar, which is required as a condition of the grant award, and to hold the town would acquire a conservation easement on the property and a trail easement. And then we could be the owners and we could be the managers of that property, which would relieve the town of the burden of management, and the town would get, for its funds into the project, could show the townspeople that you've got a trail parking, you've got parking areas, I think, Steve, right? It could be a couple of parking areas there, and a trail network that could be moved by mutual consent when it made sense to move the trail, or trails, be multiple trails out there.
Let me, again, you would own the more, in most situations that you're involved with your company, 1.2 million acres. In most times you own the property, the town has easements and
correct. The development rights would be
conservation
removed, would be held by the town, they'd be
Okay.
extinguished for all intents and purposes. We don't own 1 million 200,000 acres. We own about 26,000, just over 26,000.
Okay.
The rest are conservation easements that we hold, and the land's in private ownership still.
Could we do what we want with that land, or basically, I mean, when we say conservation, could it be recreational?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, passive recreation, hunting, walking. There could be trail bike, mountain bike trails on the property. We
Ball fields, skateboard parks? I mean,
no, those
okay.
would not probably be
Okay.
in the mix.
All right. Not a municipal golf course? No, it's got to be, we're natural state, in other words. I'm really trying to
Correct.
define where
That's
we're
right.
going with this. That's good.
Yeah, Mark, just, the state would hold a conservation easement also. So part of what comes along with the grant from the state, what's happened in the past with open space sometimes is the person that actually holds title to it, you know, if they say it's an open space and there is not a conservation easement filed on the land records held by another party, it's kind of a natural check and balance. You know, I hate to compare it to our federal government because I don't know if that natural check and balance works, but in this particular case, the entity that owns it, you don't want it to be the entity that controls the conservation easement. Very similar to Darrow. The town took title to Darrow. They were obligated to put a conservation easement on a certain amount of time, and the town could not hold it. Or it wouldn't be a wise idea because the town could wake up someday and go, hey, you know, open space, we forgot. We have Alzheimer's. The state wants to assure, and last year there was a conference that talked about, can open space really be put in perpetuity? And what allows you to do that is the conservation easement. As much as it's great to own real estate, the conservation easement extinguishes the development rights. And just like the town had their Darrow Pond, the Friends of Darrow Pond, you figure out what you want to do or allow in that conservation easement. The state, for their portion of it, you know, they buy development rights on farms sometimes, and the family still owns the farm, and they recapitalize their farm, and then when they sell it, it can't be built. It has to be a farm or a gentleman farm. In this case, the state requires that you have public access, but it's passive recreation. So, you know, many times the cross-country team is jogging through our property, but so it really would be part of the trail system, and as you know, we recently executed a recreation license with Yale. So part of our vision plan in open space is really to have that passive recreation. So the fee of the property could be held by, you know, one of two entities. The municipality is a qualified applicant, land trusts are, and water companies are. I don't necessarily know, and it's probably not the forum for this, as to why we even want to own, you know, as a town, own a lot of open space if it's really open space. What you want to do is extinguish the development rights, have some plan, implement the plan. I think also if the goal for the town is to try and go raise money, you know, we know based on our plan, we have a couple other properties. You know, the Landmark property in Osagachi Hills and the Hathaway property are fairly high priority pieces. You know, at some point when you're out trying to raise money, no one gets excited about making a donation to a town. Every year when they write a tax check, they make a donation to a town. So I think in the world of trying to not put all the burden on the municipality and go out to private foundations that have an affinity for open space and environmental causes, or philanthropic individuals that have the same affinity, nothing against East Lyme, but nobody gets excited about stroking a check to East Lyme. So
Okay. I don't know if it's appropriate to talk money here, but we haven't heard any details about the property itself, how many acres exactly, what the cost is per acre, what the cost is to the town. Is that
Well-
going to be done later in negotiations with Mr. Formica, or are you presenting that as part? Is that part of your presentation today?
Well, I mean, it could be. I guess my question is what's germane to the board? You know, the board, as I put it, I mean, we're happy to have that discussion. I think the board's policy, and that's why I've said it, if the policy is somehow consistent with a plan of conservation and development, you know, I'm happy to get into the appraisals. I bought one of the appraisals with me. You know, part of the application any grant that's over $100,000, the state required what's called 2 Yellow Book appraisals. And they're just done to what's called the Federal Land Acquisition Standard. Those appraisals appraise this piece in its entirety and then appraise the balance of the land that wasn't going to be part of the grant and then the portion that was part of the grant. So, that certainly can be shared. The contract on the piece was $1,225,000. That was the appraisals on the 166 acres. There was 2 appraisals. One was done by Chris Buckley, who I think you guys are familiar with. I think Buckley deals with some of your tax appeal cases, and he's a local appraiser in town here. The other one was done by Mark Nato in Guilford.
So it's 166 acres? I mean, we haven't heard any of these details.
Okay, well,
I mean,
yeah.
or does that, I mean, we haven't bought a piece of land in town without negotiation, obviously, and maybe that is saved for executive session. And
That's fine.
Maybe we should wait on that then.
And that's fine. I mean, I thought you guys were, because the original presentation, I know there was, letters have gone back and forth for a couple years, but, the name has changed, the deal hasn't. It was 166 acres that was slated to go in there.
It
And
was
again,
difficult to determine what exactly was
Yeah, and
factual
no,
back then
I
as
know.
well, so we'd
Yep.
like to hear it as part of a new presentation.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. If it's germane to this, or, again, I don't think the plan, albeit the clock is ticking on the grant, and part of me has said that the DEP doesn't give $500,000 grants out. So, the caliber of this project certainly hit the radar screen for the DEP. Okay. And I think it's a good reflection on us. I also think it would be not a good reflection because it is a fairly high-profile piece. But, if somewhere we should go into an executive session or talk about, or I even think in more informational setting. I know you guys got a big agenda. We don't want to monopolize it.
Okay. Mr. Siri?
I think, Steve, you got into one of the concerns. When this was presented to us before, it was almost like a ShamWow commercial. We had 20 minutes to make a decision. And we really weren't even you said we got a presentation. We had one that was so disjointed,
Right.
We were being shown Darrow Pond, but then they were talking about the Gurley Preserve. So I don't think there was a lot of clarity for us at the point. And you brought up some good points. I think the town, if you ask people, do they want to preserve open space, you're going to get people in the 90% that say yes.
Right.
Then you start putting dollar figures, it's a little different. One of the things I think that was done so successfully with the Samuel Smith House is a group came to us. They had a plan, and then they worked with Mr. Formica to come up with an acceptable purchase price. It was discussed for a rather lengthy period of time. We got buy-in from the community. We got assistance, great assistance from the Sportsman's Club. We found ways to research it. It was a plan that we could understand. And right now, I think what we need is just the basics. We don't even have those yet. So, I don't think we need to have those presented to us tonight. But just something that shows this is the parcels, this is what the appraised
Sure.
value is. And then we can talk as a board, possibly, if we're going to look at negotiating, that's something we can talk about, if it meets the criteria for executive session, and then have the first selectman possibly go further in negotiations. But that's where I am right now. I'm all for open space. And I'd love to hear $2 a year for 20 years, so $50. But you always want to see where is all the funds coming from, and is it a sure thing? And those are things that we just really
No,
haven't seen.
that's fine. I absolutely agree with you. The whole point is to vet this thing. We all know the history of some of this. Mm-hmm. Contractually, once I signed an option for this, I kind of sat back. When all the contracts expired, I think it would behoove all of us as far as the plan of conservation and development and everything to dig into it. I have no problem doing that. It's whatever venue it is. You're welcome to all the appraisals. You're welcome to walk it. This project's an open book.
Okay. Any
Good.
other questions?
Yeah, I just want to say that in your 35 minutes, I have a lot more idea what's going on other than the 4 presentations that we had.
Yeah.
Or, we can call them presentations
Right.
prior to this. So I think we're on a better track, and I appreciate you coming and giving us some insight into who you are and the background that we can, I think we just need the whole
That's
thing to
fine,
move to the
I
next
agree.
step and go about it the right way.
If we had a chance to wind the clock back, I think we'd all do that, but,
Right.
yeah. In the
Okay.
spirit of moving forward, we're happy to meet whenever you want and supply whatever information you want.
Okay. Thank you for your presence. Oh,
Thanks.
Definitely leave the relevant information from your organization, because I would like to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Hardy. We want to leave us one, and then make sure the recording secretary gets one as well for the record. You can leave them all there, and we'll distribute at the end of the meeting. Fabulous.
And if it's okay with you, I'm going to leave you some literature that the Trust for Public Land and a few of these other places really have done. I think it'll just germane to what we're
Terrific.
talking about. Thank you.
Terrific. Leave that behind as well. That's appreciated. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. We'll move on in our agenda. The appointment of Special Constable. I have a letter from the Resident State Trooper. Please reappoint Officer Paul Holmes as part-time officer for the period of 6 months beginning July 1st, 2014. Signed, Sergeant Blanchett.
So move.
Okay.
Oh, we have-
If I could just, I have the, make a change that gives Mr. Holmes' home address, and he's a peace officer, which is protected under state law. So I'd like to amend the motion to say move to appoint Paul T. Holmes, and I'll use the resident trooper address in town, Paul T. Holmes of 278 Main Street, Niantic, Connecticut, as a part-time officer for a period of 6 months beginning July 1, 2014.
Second?
Okay, I got it all going on here. I have an motion. It's been seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Terrific. We'll move on. This is to authorize the first selectman to sign the lease for the,
Somebody
Am
looks
I-
like they left a briefcase here. Oh, that's Tracy's? Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
She leaves stuff
She's
everywhere.
confusing us.
well, report it if you see, what's that commercial?
No,
If you see
see
something,
it,
Say
if you see it, say
something.
something.
Say something.
there's an unattended
Yeah.
bag in the front row.
Yeah. Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
We feel so much better now.
I think I was talking about authorizing the first selectman to sign the lease for the art show and Lobster Fest with the Lions. They do this every year. We do this as part of our agenda every year.
Move to authorize the first selectman to sign a lease with the Lions Club for Lobster Fest 2014.
Second.
It's been seconded twice. Any comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That moves as well. We have fiscal year transfers within budgets.
During that motion.
Various transfers within departmental budgets have been necessary for several reasons and for various reasons. Attached is the documentation for transfers made for a total amount of $49,619.82. Information presented includes from the number account, description of the budget line, and to the account. And these requests are forwarded to the Board of Selectmen in accordance with the Section 6.3.4 of our charter. We need a motion.
Make a motion to ratify departmental transfers in the amount of $49,619.82 processed for fiscal year end June 30th, 2014, and to forward to the Board of Finance for approval. And note, this does require a town meeting.
Second.
It's been seconded. We have a motion. Any comment?
Yes. Under the two columns for emergency management and PNR, is this just something that's left over from, just basically a form? I don't see any dollar amount there to be transferred.
Oh.
So I don't know if this is just a basic form that's here.
They were on the previous list. They didn't, I just used the same one, and I did delete them. So
Okay.
I apologize for that.
All right.
And if I may, while I'm up here, as part of the motion, I heard that you said no, a town meeting is required. That is not true, so I would recommend that you amend
Okay,
the motion.
we'll amend it because it says right here this does require, so we'll remove that part of the motion.
While you're still at the mic,
Sure.
the submission timing of PY mileage, what does the PY refer to?
Prior year.
Prior year? So this is $1,000, which is going to come from economic development to go over to transportation allowance.
That's correct.
And what department is that related to?
That's in the selectmen's budget.
Okay. Well, my concern here is that I see 3 transfers out of economic development. 2 transfers out of economic development, which really don't have anything to do with economic development. And hopefully we use that money for something that's related to economic development.
And the issue on that is it's currently within the selectmen's department, and that's why the transfers are being made from that. The resource was available, the funds haven't been expended.
Okay, my point simply being that these 2 items really don't refer to economic development. So, thank you. Those are my only questions.
Okay. Karen, who seconded this motion? You have Rob a second. Rob, would you
It's
amend
just
your
a
second?
So it's not the meeting, yeah.
Okay, so we're not doing a town meeting as part of the motion. We're all comfortable with that. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. 2E on our agenda is appropriation for the fiscal year 2014-2015 equipment acquisition plan. This is to purchase the following equipment as included in the 2014-15 capital improvement plan. 1 dump truck for $148,000, a pickup truck with plow for $32,000, a patrol vehicle for $32,000, a patrol truck for $37,000, 24-inch trailer for the police, $10,000, and a utility vehicle with top dresser for Parks and Rec, which is $30,000. And that totals $289,000. This is for the purchase of the fiscal year 2014-15 capital improvement plan, vehicle, and equipment plan for which the lease financing payments are already included in our approved budget. The capital improvement plan called for the municipal lease purchase acquisition. The 5-year agreement is to pay $60,016 annually at 1.49% interest. This plan allows reduced expenditures in the near future budgets and actually pays for the equipment in the years that the equipment is used. This year's acquisition list serves Public Works, Police, Parks and Rec departments.
I'll make the following resolution. Whereas the Board of Selectmen has determined that a true and very real need exists for the acquisition of the vehicles and equipment described above presented at this meeting, be it resolved to approve an appropriation in the amount of $300,079 for the purpose of acquiring by way of lease or purchase various vehicles and equipment more particularly described in the town's fiscal year 2014-2015 equipment acquisition plan as evidenced by 1 or more agreements for the acquisition of said vehicles by lease or purchase or a combination thereof for a total price of $289,000 plus interest at the rate of 1.49% per annum, payable in annual installments of $60,016, which is $5,002 a month, over a period of 5 years. The first selectman is authorized in the name and on behalf of the town to execute and deliver any documents that may be required in connection with said transactions, and to forward to the Board of Finance for approval. And this one does require a town meeting.
There we go.
Second?
I have a motion and I have a second. Any comments?
Yes, I'd like to note that the police patrol vehicle in particular and the police patrol truck, this is just a basic figure of $32,000 and $37,000. We have another second item coming up later on the agenda, and that's an additional $24,000 and just to equip those vehicles. It just seems extremely high to me that for an expenditure that large on top of the basic vehicle price. It's $12,500 for computers and cameras, $6,000 for lights, $750 for lettering, $6,000 for new state police radios. And it's puts this vehicle at over $60,000.
Yep.
Do you have the original cost of the police vehicles? These things usually come priced and packaged with all the equipment.
No.
They
No. I know they don't come out of the factory that way, but when we approve them in our budgets, it does come. We have them in our budgets at a price that it would include the lights, the computers, etc. Are we on the money?
Well, in the past, we've included the vehicle and all of the equipment in the acquisition plan. But typically, in the past years, the town's acquisition plan has been, like, for example, this current year, it's over close to $800,000. And that's because we included all of that, all of the equipment with the vehicles. And this year, we had some resources in the CNRE fund, and we're purchasing the equipment separate with the CNRE funds, just more or less for efficiency purposes and running through the leases. Because every time we purchase the vehicle and then we go out and we purchase all of the various pieces of equipment that goes in the vehicle separately. So every time we need funding, we've just found that the paperwork is very cumbersome. So this way we just are going to have one submission and then purchase the other equipment separately, and that's why there's two motions on the agenda.
I'm not questioning the two motions. I'm just saying it seems to me that this is excessive.
Not every year, as I understand it, not every year do we purchase all new equipment for the vehicles. This particular year we are, and in addition, we need to deal with the state police radios for the new vehicles. I will say that these are based on estimates. When we go out and purchase, if the prices come in lower, we certainly will not spend all the funds. They will remain in the CNRE fund.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
I just want to say that we did have that presentation that the state police were going to all the new radio system, and we have very little we can do about it other than buy them as we're able to do them. So it is a lot of money, and by the time you get done with putting one of these vehicles together, it is a $60,000 vehicle, easily. I mean, you think you're getting a great price because you're buying them right, but by the time you're done, I mean, there's a lot of money involved in it, and rightfully so, Roseanne. But I don't think there's any other way to do it. And we've done because we're not ripping a couple apart and putting the stuff back into them. These are especially the pickup truck. It's a whole nother configuration, so it's not something that we can just reuse from somewhere else. So.
Well, I hope it's going to last longer than 5 years.
Well, until they change another radio, and then you do it all over again.
On the dump truck for the Public Works Department, is that a replacement vehicle or a totally new acquisition? Somebody answer that?
Joe's coming up.
Joe's here.
Joe Bergas here, Director of Public Works.
It's part of a replacement project. We've been getting a new truck each year because all these trucks, we've been trying to turn them at 15 years. So it is a new truck to replace one of our oldest trucks. That truck, I think, will be handed down to water and sewer because that truck is even older than that. So, we're going to keep that old truck in the fleet, hand it to water and sewer, and then get a new truck.
Thank you.
Other questions? We'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries 5-0. F, appropriation for the fiscal year 2014-15 Board of Ed Technology and Vehicle Acquisition. This is for the purchase of fiscal year 2014-15 capital improvement plan, equipment plan for the fourth consecutive fiscal year in coordination with the town. The plan includes up to 253 desktops, 97 LCD monitors, 14 laptops, 19 Mac Minis with AppleCare, 1 iMac with AppleCare, 3 MacBook Pros with AppleCare, 6 Smart SB 680 smart boards, 10 Epson projectors, 5 Epson Powerlight projectors, 2 mounting existing mobile boards, 3 iPad carts, 1 high school card for the netbooks. The equipment will be distributed throughout the district in accordance with the technology plan with a total cost of $226,834. In addition, this includes 1-ton dump truck for $66,000. I need a motion.
May I move the following resolution? Whereas, upon the recommendation of the Board of Education, the Board of Selectmen has determined that a true and very real need exists for the acquisition of the equipment described above. Be it resolved to approve an appropriation to the Board of Education in the amount of $304,060 for the purpose of acquiring, by way of lease or purchase or combination thereof, various new computer and smart board equipment for the high school, middle school, Niantic Center School, Lily B. Haynes, Flanders School, and the central office, more particularly described in the East Lyme Public Schools proposed Year 1 Computer Replacement Plan 2014-15, and one-ton dump truck for the total amount of $292,834 plus interest at the rate of 1.49% per annum, payable in annual installments of $60,812, $5,068 a month, over a period of 5 years, and sent to the Board of Finance for approval, and this requires a town meeting.
I have a motion,
Second.
and it's been seconded. Board of Ed, you want to make any comments, presentation, anything at all? Is there anything to say?
Well, I think just that it is part of the 5-year plan. We've started to replace 20% of our technology over 5 years, and this is the going into the 5th year of that plan. That the dump truck to switch gears is a replacement dump truck for one that already exists, just in case that's a question on anybody's mind. And it's made a huge difference that the town was able to support us in having the technology replaced. We would not have been able to do what we did in terms of the state testing requirements had we not had that support in the past few years.
Thank you, Brian. Go ahead.
Brian, the dump truck, do you know what the disposition of that will be, the current one?
I do not, but I'll look around the room to see if somebody does.
This has been Chuck Holyfield has recommended he can no longer fix the one that we have. It's the other one, it's rusted out, the floorboards, and I believe axle or something has gone on the other one. He's fixed it, and he believes it's totally gone.
Don, how old is it?
I don't know. It's
that old?
Unless Joe knows. Yeah,
Okay.
it's real old.
Thank you.
I've made my opinion known at the Board of Ed meetings and here on several occasions that I think the Board of Ed should get out of the Public Works Department, Public Works business, and stick to education and let the town, through Parks and Rec and our Public Works Department, maintain the schools and parking lots and the fields, etc. I know that there's a subcommittee at Board of Ed that is discussing possibilities in that in the future. For disclosure and transparency, my wife sits on the Board of Ed. This is not her opinion, nor have we discussed this. But I can't support the $66,000 dump truck. I think it's perfect time for perhaps some of that work to be transferred to Public Works or Parks and Rec, however they use this dump truck. It's a perfect time. We're already buying a dump truck on one of our prior resolutions. So I know it's a bigger dump truck and it has probably many uses already. But I just think we have a multitude of equipment in this town and duplicate equipment in this town that we could probably better serve our taxpayers by not buying duplicate equipment and therefore servicing duplicate equipment. So I'm a big fan of all the technology. I like what we're doing with the 20% rollover. The kids need new technology. We can't let this stuff go. It's a brilliant plan that we bring in all this new technology every year and slowly phase out our old stuff, bring in our new stuff. But I'm not going to support the dump truck.
Make one more comment. We need this truck for snow removal. It's
Mhm.
very, very necessary. It's not a duplicate by any means.
Okay. I even think that the snow removal should go to the public works, but that's my one man's opinion. That's all.
We have talked in the past,
Yeah.
and the town department doesn't have the capability because of all the roads that they clean. They're
Right.
pretty busy.
Mhm. So,
That does bring up a question. Joe, if this is just a question, since we brought up the snow removal, do you have the resources in your department to do the, and this is, people should, so people know, resources to do the school parking lots?
We'd have to look at that.
You can't.
I got to get you on mic. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Obviously, the Board of Ed has personnel, so you might have to take on personnel. There'd be a swap there or something.
We'd have to take a look at that. I mean, we do have 116 miles of road that we do plow with our crews. We do have some guys. We would have to probably stretch some plow routes larger. So it's tough to exactly say. I mean, we do have some guys, but
Okay.
it would stretch the roads. And I know we get calls from people, why haven't you got to our road yet?
Mhm.
Well, this winter we were down 3 people because of people leaving. So, we got through this year, but it would stretch our other services out.
Okay. And another question, Don, you do some contracting out for snow removal at the schools, don't you?
Yes, we do. What we do is we have 4 people on staff. We have maintenance people who get into the truck. They have trucks. And so we have 4 of our people, and we use Spencer Beers as a contractor who has 2 or 3 trucks that also help us.
Okay, and not having this how badly would this, not having the dump truck, how badly would that hamper your snow removal?
It would hamper us greatly. We're, like Joe, we're also stretched very thin.
Okay. I think I'd like what Mark says as far as looking into ways to be more efficient, but I understand the situation now.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You use 4 private dump trucks now. You have private trucks and Spencer Beers, of course.
We have 4 trucks that we use.
You have
Plus
4
Spencer
trucks.
has, I don't know, 2 or 3 that also help us out.
So the Department of Ed has 4 plows
Yes.
that you guys own. Okay, great. Any other comments?
I'll just echo your statement. I don't know what the Board of Education is doing in the plow business, so.
No,
But, yes.
Yeah, but you know what? This
Go.
isn't probably the time to try to figure that one out, because this should have been done way before this. And,
Great.
and I cannot not give them the truck because the other one's dead. It needs to be done, and that truck will be very useful to whoever ends up being behind the wheel in whatever department they're working for down the road. So it'll be fine.
In regards to your remarks, Mr. Nickerson, about being unable to support this, we could have a motion that this be pulled out and voted separately, or if you're not going to support that, you'll have to vote against the whole thing, because
I know
that's the way the motion was
I know.
made.